have everybody here? Good. Good afternoon. Thanks to all of you for being here this afternoon. These are, of course, challenging times, and we are ramping up with as many resources as necessary, and we are all, everyone here with me here today, committed to delivering on our responsibilities and to hopefully stop the senseless killing and violence that we've encountered in our city this summer, particularly of children. I do want to point out a few people that are here with me today. Reggie Harris from the U.S. Attorney's Office, Judge Jimmy Edwards, Sam with the Wesley Bell's office. Of course, Governor Parsons is here today. Sam Page, County Executive Page, Sandy Carson, Deputy Department of Public Safety, Chief Hayden, Chief Belmar, Head of the Highway Patrol, and Judge Mullen. So thanks to all of them. We just had a good meeting to talk about a number of the resources and commitments that we can all bring to the table to address the violence in our city. We have partnered over the last couple of years, of course, with the U.S. Attorney's Office on a number of federal cases. So far this year, we've referred over 1,000 cases to, over the last couple of years, over 1,000 cases to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Our police officers have a tough job, as do the county's officers, and our city officers have a tough job. We ask them to be everywhere. We ask them to handle society's most difficult problems. When society fails, when our mental health systems and our social systems fail, they end up in a 911 call. And the 911 call ends up in a police officer responding. So our police department, as all other police departments that are here with us today, law enforcement offices, do a great job. We ask them to patrol, we ask them to prevent, we ask them to solve crimes, we ask them to be psychiatrists, we ask them to be therapists, and it's up to all of us to support our officers who are doing the tough job that most of us would not do every single day. So I do want to say that the rewards that we announced a couple of weeks ago are helping. Tips are coming into Crime Stopper, and that's both on the cases of the children that have been killed, as well as coming into Crime Stopper on other cases. We encourage people to continue to call Crime Stopper. That is the anonymous way that you can help if you know something about one of these incidents. And so we're asking the public once again and to continue to call Crime Stopper. I want to say that today we talked about a number of things, and we talked about them in three categories: in manpower, in equipment, and in technology. And it takes all of those things today to have an effective policing strategy. And we are all here, everyone here is committed to that effective strategy. I want to give a couple of my partners here the opportunity also to address you. And so if at this time I would call on Governor. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being in St. Louis. This governor is here a lot, and we appreciate that, and thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. This meeting today was simply about violent crime. It was about what are we really going to do? What are we going to be able to put on the table? And it was bringing every agency together, sit at the same table where you could look each other in the eye and say, what commitment are you going to make to the violent crime in St. Louis, including me as governor? And that was one of the things we sat down at the table. We talked about manpower. We talked about strike forces. We talked about teaming up with the federal government, with ATF, with the U.S. Federal Prosecutor's Office, Attorney General, and what we can do from the state level and what the city can do. Everybody was at the table. Everybody had an open discussion of what powers, what we could provide to one another to fight violent crime. That's what this meeting was about today, period. In the near future, we will come back down and we will have everything on the table, and we'll come back out here as a united front and say, this is what we're going to do. And the mayor touched on technology. We're going to be looking at every aspect that we can, what it costs, what can we do financially to that. But more importantly, what can we do for boots on the ground to stop the violent crime as quick as we possibly can. There's a lot of things going on right now, but we need to do more, and I think we all agree it. And this is the first time I know of that all of us has come together. We all sat at a table. We was all on an even playing field trying to figure out how we're going to meet the objections of violent crime in this city. Thank you.
County Executive?
Thank you, Mayor. So we know that crime is a regional problem. It's going to take a regional effort. St. Louis County is committed to participating with our state partners, our federal partners. We appreciate the governor's support, and we're certainly here to help in cooperation and coordination with St. Louis City. Our police chief, Chief Belmar, is here with us today, and I think we had a very frank and open and positive conversation about how we can put our resources together to work as a team to start to attack the violent crime in St. Louis City. We have to work together. We have to include everyone in this conversation. There's certainly people who aren't here today that will be participating in some of our solutions, and we welcome their support. We recognize that crime impacts some of our less prosperous neighborhoods more than others, and we recognize that crime is particularly impactful on communities of color. St. Louis County stands ready to support our federal partners, our state partners, Mayor Cruzen's leadership here in St. Louis City, and to work cooperatively and bring some of our resources to the table to help address what is a regional problem, and that's crime in the St. Louis region. Thank you.
Why is a meeting like this just now being called? Why wasn't it done before so many children lost their lives to gun violence?
We have many meetings.
You ask Elliot. You ask him.
So I'll take the first stab at this, and then I might turn this over to Judge Edwards, but we have meetings with these folks up here weekly, sometimes more than weekly. This is a meeting that came together today to really figure out what the resources are. As you know from news accounts last week, Governor and I met last week. We talked on the phone the week before that. We work all the time with these federal partners, but this is an opportunity today to come together and all of us be together at one time.
Governor, I have a question for you about guns. It's been requested of you that you would support tougher gun laws in certain parts of the state, maybe the big cities, where they would like to have a requirement for permits, that the one-size-all approach doesn't work anymore. What is your thinking on that, and is your thinking evolving as you look at all these statistics of all people killed in the big cities in Missouri?
Let me answer that the best I can. For any time in the gun laws in this state to change, we'll have to go through the legislative branch. And I think that's going to take a session to do that, at least, to be able to figure out, are we going to make changes? That legislative body represents all close to 6 million people in the state. They all should have a say when we're going to change the gun laws of this state, and that's what I firmly believe, and it's going to have to go through the legislative process
If they look
to come to
you
that.
for leadership, how would you lead them on this issue? Is the one-size-all approach broken,
Yeah.
or is it working?
You know, I don't know what the issue is going to be. I've been very careful since I've been governor. I don't know what the legislative outcome of that's going to be before it ever gets to my desk. I am going to protect the rights of the Second Amendment to law-abiding citizens in this state. That's what the Constitution, I believe, says. What they do to the legislative action, till they do it, I'm not going to make a commitment whether I support it, whether I don't support it. But I think there's going to be discussion about it, and I think that's a good thing to have.
Anything new come out of this meeting? Do you guys have any new initiatives, any new ideas at all for fighting crime in this city?
We have a number of new initiatives and ideas, or perhaps I should say they are initiatives and ideas that we're all coming together on.
And that includes action items, specific action items out of today. What might those be?
I think what the mayor is saying, we talked about this before. We did talk about a dozen different ideas, some of them expanding on old ideas, some of them new. We'll take a week to 10 days to vet the details, and we'll be back with some of those ideas to share. It's very important to make sure we understand the details of them before we begin to explore them publicly. But I do think this was a very good conversation, and we're going to continue it, and this is the first of a series of meetings.
So
Any details yet on the highway patrol coming in the city?
we talked extensively today about the highway patrol, and I think it's fair to say that there will be some collaboration with the highway patrol. The next time we talk with you, it's likely that we'll have more specific numbers and exactly what they're going to do. So these are more than ideas. These are now really ferreting out what can we get implemented.
Governor, can you talk about why you wanted to be here in person today, and is it likely you could call a special session on gun violence specifically?
I'm here today because I care about the people of the state. As somebody that's been in law enforcement for 22 years, and I'm standing up here with these fellow officers who are up here today trying to figure out how do we deal with a terrible situation in our state. And the bottom line is, how do I protect those children out there from getting killed in the streets every day, or these victims that are out here? And what do I do as my part as governor, and stay in the lane as being governor? You know, I'm not the fix-all to everything. I'm not. But I want to support everybody at the table today. But I really I want to come up with solutions. I don't like just talking about something all the time. You know, we're in a crisis in our state right now with this violent crime. And I think if we will all work together, all the agencies behind me, really commit to what we said today, put the money on the table, put the resources on the table, I think in 10 days from now, we're going to walk out here in front of you and tell you exactly what that plan is and how we're going to execute it. That's what today was about.
And is it possible a special session could be called on gun violence?
I don't believe it would be. I mean, we're going to have a session in January. I mean, as it normal rolls, and I think it'll happen then. And there'll be a lot of discussion on that. Look, these discussions could have been happened last session. You know, this didn't just happen overnight. This has been long going. You know, and there was not a whole lot of discussion about it last year, frankly. But the bottom line is the legislators have their part to do. As I said earlier, they'll have to do it. Thank you.
I'll put this question to Mayor Parson. Was Kim Gardner invited to be at this meeting, Mayor?
Channel 5.
There were three categories that you said that you guys were focusing on today. Is there one specifically that you would attack first, or is it kind of all inclusive together?
You know, law enforcement is a complex business today. It takes people, it takes equipment, and it takes technology. So it isn't that we're going to just address one of those. We are looking at all of those things. So.
Mayor, was St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner invited to this meeting? I noticed you have the U.S. Attorney. What about Kim Gardner? Was she invited? And if not, why isn't she here?
Kim Gardner, I don't believe was invited today. I did speak with Circuit Attorney Gardner yesterday on the telephone about how we might work together ultimately in prosecuting any tickets that might come out of the Highway Patrol. We're still working on that with her office.
Why would you not have invited the Circuit Attorney to this meeting? She is an integral part, certainly, of the local criminal justice system.
She is an integral part of the local criminal justice system. This was about folks that can bring resources to the table today.
You guys spoke about multiple things. Is cure violence one of those things that you guys talked about today?
It is. We talked about alternative violence prevention models. Cure violence is certainly one of those. And we talked about funding for those, for that or similar programs, as well as for other social service programs that might be effective.
Mayor,
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.